そうですね。We're going to ask you first, what is your Moms for America, right? Moms for America. And your name is Ali.
Yes.
And from Florida.
Yes.
And we'd like to interview for shortly about what kind of organization, what kind of activity you are doing at first. And after that, we both ask you a few questions.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
All right. Would you introduce yourself first?
Hi, I'm Ali Legg, and I am the Senior Director of Empower Moms over at Moms for America, which is a nationally parent-led organization.
And would you explain what really Moms for America doing activity?
Yes,
should
so
be? Yeah.
Moms for America, what we do here is we empower parents across the nation to make the decisions that best fit their families. Right now, we're trying to assist you in raising patriots, so teaching them life, liberty, and happiness, really, what that looks like at home, because moms are the heart of the home, and it starts all at home. Liberty starts at home, and we just want to make sure that you have all of the resources you need in order to make the effective decisions that you can for your family, whether that's homeschool, whether that's petitioning school boards, talking to your legislatures, building the relationships with your elected representatives, and holding them accountable. And we literally care about everything from the kitchen table all the way to Congress. So there's no issue that is foreign to Moms for America.
So I know I saw you a couple of times on Steve Bannon's show.
Yes, sir.
And you're pretty famous.
Thank you. Aw, thanks.
Even I know some of them, I'm sure Japanese people know about you.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, and especially those Moms for America, Moms for Liberty, or those for a lot of you told me a lot of those moms and parents are now standing and saying no to a lot of things about school board, and it's really like CRT, critical race theory, and or LGBTQ. For me, it's kind of crazy education. And,
yes, I don't believe that should be an education focus. I think our focus needs to be on curriculum, right? So it should be on, the basics, math, reading, writing, history, and things of that nature. But as far as gender and just gender ideology in general really should just be between families. It shouldn't be taught as something in a government school.
Not the government.
Especially because we pay for that. Like we are customers of our public schools. And so the fact that a lot of our school districts and our school board members who are elected by the people, right? Like here in America, we have that. We are protected by our Constitution and by our God-given rights. So when we have people that are elected that are trying to hide curriculum, such as the gender ideology, the CRT, the social emotional learning, the diversity, equity, and inclusion trainings that they have for teachers, they're hiding that information, and that is a disservice to the customers, who are the parents who are participating in the public education.
Parents are customers.
Right, which is why we are removing our children from the schools. There's a mass exodus of teachers that are leaving the profession because they don't agree with what's happening in their schools. They don't agree with what they're being told to teach. But we also have parents that are taking charge and removing their children from the schools because they're not getting any return on investment.
I've heard last night one of those speakers said that many now more and more homeschool teachers, homeschool families, and parents, they raise your hand. Just amazing. But let me introduce Yamaoka-san. He's also author, and then working both of us now this time CPAC Japan, and he has quite a lot of good articles about what's going on, that the crazy woke culture doing here. So, Mr. Yamaoka, please ask some questions to him.
Ali, thank you for taking time today.
Thank you.
So talking about LGBT in education, how can you really deal with it? So is the only way to avoid that is to take children out of the school, or do you have any school in agreement with you?
I think there are several ways we can address this issue. That would be to encourage parents that disagree with what is being taught in their classrooms to step up and voice their concerns to their school boards, petition their school board members, build those relationships, and tell them what their concerns are. If they're not listening to them, then I would suggest take it upon yourself to run for office. There are a lot of people in our communities that really support moms and parent-led focus on actual true curriculum, which is just the basics, common sense education. And I think that's a way we can combat that for sure. But also we need teachers to speak up as well. We can't do this by ourselves. So we need teachers, we need pastors, we need just people in general to come out and support.
So are you able to find teachers who are in agreement with you?
I do. I have, because I ran for office last cycle in 22, while I wasn't elected, I was the first nonpartisan candidate to be endorsed by a sitting governor in all of American history politics, which was a really good feat, and I won 80,000 votes my first time running as someone that's never run before. But while I was running for school board, I did come in contact with many teachers that supported teaching children true education and stripping away all of the wokeness out of the schools. But they're afraid to speak out because of the unions. They're afraid to speak out because of the administration and being fired or removed from their jobs. So there's a lot of fear there, but what I would like to encourage our teachers that do fear is fear is the robber of happiness. It's the robber of liberty. So you need to address the fear and attack the fear with truth. And you will have people that support you.
On YouTube, I sometimes come across the videos showing that drag queens are invited to the gathering of school children and the parents.
Right.
Is that commonly happening in the U.S. now?
I believe so. I believe it's common. I believe it's being pushed in certain areas. But for what a lot of people don't understand is drag queens and those drag shows are for adult entertainment. That is not for a place for children to be, because they are dressed very provocatively, they dance provocatively. That's literally like taking your child to a strip club. That's not, there's no place for a child like that. I don't care if they're sitting down and reading a book, it's not appropriate. And speaking of books, we have a lot of books that have come out into the market that are teaching children about, sex and how to petition for sex through apps and things like this. And we've been fighting that for a really long time since we found out.
Yes, I visited your booth last year in Turning Point USA, and then they showed me like a textbook with a graphic, illustration of man-to-man sex, something like that. I mean, like,
Right.
And then you teach those, in the school, like second degree, grade school kids. I mean, it's kind of crazy things going on in this country. How do you think about it?
I think it's quite disgusting. We need to make sure that our children are setting up for success after school. They need to know how to calculate math properly. They need to know how to read. They need to know what their history is so they don't repeat it, but not just American history, world history, because what has happened in America is unique, but the things that we have happened before our founding is not unique. So there's been slavery around the world, there's been dictatorships around the world, and that's why America is so different, because we have our founding fathers and mothers have cultivated and they studied what was happening around the world and created something that is different. But so getting those books out of the schools is very important. We need to just bring back core curriculum.
Core
curriculum.
Math,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
history, very important.
Because right now we have children that can't read and write, but they know all of the genders, and they know how to access sex on apps, and they know how to read smutty material, but you can't ask them who their founding fathers are. They don't know what a rhombus is in geometry. They don't know, their times tables by memory.
That's not in TikTok.
And no, it's not. And I mean, that's terrible. That's what's terrible about it.
Let me ask you a final question from him and me. And Japan, surprisingly, we were, basically a lot of people believe Japan's very traditional country and culture we've been having, but last 5-10 years, I don't know, very like political correctness and those LGBTQ kind of education coming from mostly USA, and many Japanese parents are very worried about it.
Yes, I would be.
Yeah, so really like how do you think, how long have you guys having this kind of a new woke kind of culture in education? How do you think when you guys realize it was too late, or what is the really time frame?
I think we're kind of in the cusp of changing things. It's now starting to come to light since 2020. So when all of the lockdowns happened, a lot of parents, because they did remote learning, because of COVID, they did the remote learning. So parents had an in-person idea in the moment of what was really going on in their classrooms, because for a long time we turned a blind eye. We gave our children to the schools thinking that they had their best interests at heart, and what we found out was it was totally the opposite. And now that we've been paying attention, we've realized a lot of the things that have been coming down by a federal government. So a lot of this is pushed down by the federal Department of Education. And states are sovereign, so states can dictate what is allowed in their schools and what's not allowed in their schools to push back on the federal government. And I think right now what we're seeing is a massive movement of parents that are really trying to get all of these terrible things out of the classroom so that their children can lead a life of success when they graduate.
Great. All right, Yamaga-san, please, last question.
Okay. What you are trying to achieve is really about common sense, right? The retrieval of common sense. Yeah. But what do you think is the ultimate purpose of doing this kind of thing by the government? Yeah. Why are they introducing this stuff into education? What do you think?
I believe, honestly, if you are not educated enough to know how to think for yourself, you're more easily controlled. I think there's probably an agenda for a massive control of all people, a one world kind of government where the people look to their government as their savior, and I don't think that that's going to be very successful, so hopefully, but we need to just make sure that our children are educated properly.
Okay, finally, does your organization have any international perspective to help moms overseas as well?
I think we can reach, definitely. I would love to begin with that, and it starts with this right here, and having these conversations, because it's not just America, it's happening all over the world. I spoke to someone from Austria earlier today, so anything that we can do, please reach out to Moms for America. You can go to momsforamerica.us and look through our website, and we're trying to get some translators to translate our materials. So if you guys have any assistance you would like to provide us, I would be grateful. So.
Okay, let's make it international then.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Ali. Ali, it's a really great interview we had, in a very short, but that's we are really hoping. We are kind of working on like international anti-globalism kind of activity, work with American, like you guys, organization like us, we based in Japan. In Japan, U.S., he's been a long time in Australia, and some of our friends in Europe. So we want to make sure to try to really against those woke political correctness, crazy culture to me. You are really that one warrior of against those. Culture, like a revolution they try to. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right.
Thank you.
Enjoy the show.
Thank you. You as well.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Please think that.
Thank you.
Of course.